that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 385th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey, me, and the amazing Tom Fennell.
Over here.
Over there. I want to point out that Tom and I are not wearing masks, but we have a big plastic barrier between us. I told you not to do that. I don't know if that... I'm going to have to put my glasses on, see if you can... if it's in the way.
Not in my way.
It's not in your way, but there we go. It's there. Anyway, every day I go to...
You're off center here.
I'm off center?
Not that it matters.
Not that it matters.
Now
Okay.
you're in the center.
Now I'm in the center. Okay. Every day I go to the internet and I do my blog, which is called geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. And you can go there and read the articles that we are referring to here. If you go to the date that we're talking about, and we try to keep these things, keep you apprised of what the date is, you can find the article fairly easily.
And there's links in what you talk about, so you click the links and...
Yeah.
I've clicked them, so they're working.
Sometimes in the past, Tom has clicked the links and found that they didn't work. I try to test them.
Yeah.
There are a lot that I don't
Most
test.
of the time you do a good job.
Yeah. CNN, for example, if I see something from CNN or Clean Technica or wherever, I don't test those. But, you know, I see things from, what was the one that was on today? Meat processing or something like that. It was one about farming in Australia.
Okay.
And so, you know, it was a publication called Meat Processing or something like that. And
Every week. Can't wait, comes on Tuesday.
Does it really? Anyway, a thing like that, I check. Some of them I have to, some of them, ET Energy Times, ET Energy World, whatever it is, I've used a lot in the past. And then I found out that some articles they block and others they don't. And you don't have any way of...
Sometimes they change the article. By the time I get to look at it, it's a new article. Well, I just search for it, I'll find it.
Yeah, well, anyway, we're starting on August 13th. And for people who are watching this on YouTube or BCTV, BrattleboroTV.org, there are links provided, and one of them goes to Energy Week number 385. And you could go there and you actually see the script that Tom and I work from. So that's pretty straightforward. And we're starting with a picture.
Got an image here.
We have an image, and my image computer is not behaving itself. There we go. This is from CNN. And that is a picture of a Hyperion XP1, which is a concept car.
It's an interesting car.
Yeah. Do we have more to say going into this thing?
On this one?
No, on the show in general. I think I got everything.
I think you covered it.
Okay, here is our first item. It's from Thursday, August 13th. We're recording this on the 20th, by the way. And this is from CNN, so Tom has a title.
Hydrogen-powered supercar can drive 1,000 miles on a single tank.
This is bizarre.
That's more than I do.
Huh?
That's more than I drive.
Yeah, I guess it is. Hyperion, based in California, has unveiled a hydrogen-powered supercar. The Hyperion XP1 will be able to drive for up to 1,000 miles on one tank of compressed hydrogen, which, by the way, you have to drive to California to buy, but that's okay. The motors will generate over 1,000 horsepower.
I questioned that, but apparently it's right.
And do 0 to 60 in just over 2 seconds.
A little quick.
A little quick. And one of the things that's interesting here is they're using compressed hydrogen gas. It's not liquid hydrogen. It's compressed gas. But the hydrogen is so light. And, you know, if you think about it, these electric motors are probably light. They're, you know, even though they're 1,000 horsepower, they're
Well,
probably...
we saw a picture of one last week, I think. It was really a neat little motor.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Compared to a gas engine, it's tiny.
well, not only that, but 1,000 horsepower from an electric motor is probably going to deliver upwards of 30% of that to the road, where a gas engine will, if you had 1,000 horsepower, you're not going to get more than 180 horsepower actually at the tire.
Well, I don't think you're going to see 1,000 horsepower in a gas engine.
No, I don't think you would.
I think the biggest engine you can buy today is 365.
Well, I'm thinking, you know, we're talking about a concept car here. We could talk about a concept engine.
You can
So-
do things in a concept car.
Yeah, right. Do you have anything more on that?
Well, this is an interesting article. There's some nice pictures of the car. There's a 1-minute video that's worth looking at.
Yeah.
And there's other videos in there. So this is, you could spend some time on that.
If you like
Okay.
cars.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I don't particularly like cars.
Well, I'll read a couple of takeaways.
Okay.
The XP1 doesn't combust hydrogen, but it uses
Yes.
fuel cells that combine hydrogen with oxygen from the air to create electricity to power the car.
Right.
Sounds complicated, but it really isn't.
It is not
Now, here's the
complicated.
important part. Water is the vehicle's only emission.
Yeah.
The XP1 has a much longer range than a battery-powered electric car because compressed hydrogen has more power than a battery.
Yes.
So they're moving on to something here.
Well, you know, Elon Musk referred to fuel cells as fool cells. And I wonder if he isn't fooling himself on that
He might
sometimes.
very well, he's kind of opinionated. I mean, most of the time he's been right. But,
Yeah, that's right.
well, a $60,000 Corvette has a maximum horsepower of 495.
Yeah.
So that's what's reality of the market. The highest performing XP versions of this Hyperion could cost millions. So they're not giving this car
You
away.
know, I did an interview last week with a fellow who has an electric motorcycle, and it's a powerful electric motorcycle.
Oh, yeah?
And of course, as an electric motorcycle, it's darn near silent. And
I'm trying
that's
to
the
get you-
one.
I'm trying to get you.
There you go.
There we go. Whoop.
As an electric motorcycle, it's darn near silent.
Yeah.
And he found himself at a light or something like that with a whole bunch of motorcycles around him, and they were being really noisy, and they
They
were
wouldn't sell them if they weren't.
they were kind of looking down their nose at him, and when the light changed, he was gone. No
Without
sound,
any-
just
without
gone.
any noise, just gone.
He passed them like they were standing still. Okay, we should go on to the next one.
Yeah, this is the Renault. We got a picture.
A Renault,
Yeah, let's
There's
get
the
that
Renault.
up there.
which is not as impressive looking as the
This
Hyperion
is the Renault
XP1.
ZOE.
Zoe.
I guess it's
That's
called Zoe.
well, I
don't know.
call it Zoe. I'm sure a lot of
It's
other people do.
capitalized, so
Anyway, we have this is from Clean Technica.
cheap electric vehicles more affordable than petrol cars in the UK.
This is interesting.
It
This
is.
is really interesting. If you don't think cheap EVs exist, Drive Electric can now can show you 5. The examples are vehicles that motorists can drive today with zero tailpipe emissions and all other benefits that electric cars offer, including being virtually silent, very refined, and easy to drive.
Well, they gave a list of the 5, and there's 2 of them you can buy in the US.
Yeah,
Some of the others, Skoda, Renault, and Jeep Peugeot. Apparently, you can only buy them in Europe.
right.
The US has a smart car,
Yes.
and Volkswagen's got an e-Golf.
Yeah, I've never been in an e-Golf, but I've been in a smart car. A smart car is
It's like a half a car.
well, it is. That's the thing. It's a Smart 4.2,
Yeah.
and it's a I guess we would call it a coupe, but it's because it's a 2-seater. But it's a little car. It's like a station wagon with that much of the middle cut out.
It's an interesting looking little car, and it's a nice car. It's
Comfortable.
made by Mercedes.
Yeah, comfortable car, and not terribly expensive.
Yeah,
So
that's why they call it smart.
that's why they call it smart.
So we got another picture.
We
coming
do.
up.
We have a picture of stack emissions.
Is that what that is?
That is stack emissions
Looks like stack emissions to me.
from above. It's
From
the
above,
First
yeah,
time I've seen
yeah.
that particular kind of picture. This is from Green Tech Media. What do you got for a title?
U.S. coal power generation plummets 30% in 2020.
What can I say? I mean, the coal industry is in steep decline.
We'll be talking about that several times.
Yeah, I
before the
think
end
so.
of the show.
U.S.
It's news, but it's not going to be news for long.
No. U.S. coal power generation plunged by 30% in the first half of 2020, off an already depressed base, shoved out by natural gas and renewables amid lower energy prices linked with COVID-19 pandemic, according to figures from the Energy Information Administration. And Energy Information Administration was saying a couple of years ago that these coal plants were just basically going to keep going until they reached the ends of their
Well, I think
ages.
they were wrong.
I guess they
We're
were.
going to be talking about that probably several times. before
Yes,
we leave today.
absolutely.
Well, there's a couple of takeaways here.
Yeah.
Coal power, I'm going to put this one up. Okay, coal power fell by a record amount last year,
Yep.
and things have gone downhill from there.
Yes.
Okay, gas-fired generation is at an all-time high, and renewable electricity output is rising. And the reasons for coal's decline are largely tied to costs.
Yeah. It's just too expensive.
Common sense.
Yeah. Okay. We
Well,
are.
now there are alternatives popping up.
Yes.
You know, and they're good alternatives. A few years ago, you did not have these alternatives. You had to go to coal.
Well, now they're starting to close down natural gas plants.
Yes. Well, we'll be talking about that too.
We will indeed.
The
We
next
are,
picture here.
we are up to Friday, the 14th of
Look at that
August.
picture.
Let's put that picture up. And I want to point out, this is a
That's a heck
small,
of a thing.
a small modular reactor being pulled down the road by a tractor.
That's what's supposed to save the industry, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Now, I want you to look at that reactor. It's lying on what looks like two I-beams, each of which has got a set of tires, two sets of tires under it.
There's a whole bunch of tires.
Yeah, well, each...
I guess about 60.
No, I'm going to double that. Each of the hubs that you see is a hub with another tire inside, and then there's the axle, the support for the axle. Then there's two more tires inside of that. So each of the
What just happened to this?
the monitor behind us went off and on.
Yeah.
It flickered. That's not going to be a problem because the monitor that people are seeing is not flickering. People might see
Yeah.
flickers during the show, but hopefully things will be all right. Anyway, that means that each hub that you see there, it represents 4 tires. And there's 8 in front and 8 in back. And then on the far side, there's 8 in front and 8 in back. So that's a trailer with 128 tires on it. And this is a small modular reactor. You are
Well,
not...
I could just picture that trying to thread its way through Brattleboro.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not going to see this going down Main Street anytime soon. Anyway, this is from where is it from? It's from thetai.ca, which is a California, Canada. And yeah, and you give me the title, would you?
Look over there. Contains phony nuclear power distraction.
Yeah, distraction. This is the magician
Oh, look
saying,
at this hand.
right. When Alberta Premier Jason Kenney says small modular reactors, quote, could be a game changer in providing safe, zero-emitting baseload power for many areas of the province, end quote, he did this week in a tweet, he's pulling your leg. These nuclear reactors make no economic sense.
Well, the takeaway on that one, a modular nuclear reactor would cost more to build and run than a natural gas powered plant.
And a natural gas power plant is more expensive to build and run than solar or wind with battery backup.
The only small nuclear plant currently operating in the world is Russia's floating power barge,
I'm going to disagree with that statement.
with 2 35-megawatt reactors on board. It cost nearly $750 million, which was 5 times what they estimated before they started building.
Well, there are a lot of small modular small reactors running. They're used for powering naval vessels.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely. Every aircraft carrier, most submarines.
I think every cruiser at this point.
It might be now.
I don't think I think all of our submarines. And I'm not sure that they're not putting them into destroyers now or
I hadn't
frigates.
heard of that, but
I wouldn't be
They
surprised.
could be, because
Yeah.
the Navy has been working on these things since, Rickenbacker's time.
Oh yeah,
We're talking
absolutely.
50 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they know what they're doing.
Heard an interesting story about him. when they were interviewing crew members. He personally interviewed every single crew member
Really?
for the Nautilus, and I think for other submarines as well.
Uh-huh.
And every single one of them, he invited to have dinner with him.
That's it.
Not necessarily singly, but he
But he
didn't.
wanted to get to know him.
He would not hire anybody who put salt on his food before he tasted it.
Well, I gotta admit, his logic is good.
Okay, should we move on, Tom?
Yeah, let's move along.
We've got an item from Inside Climate News, and we don't have a picture for that.
In a move that could be catastrophic for the climate, Trump's EPA rolls back methane regulation.
Well,
They're talking about that right now on a Democratic convention.
yes, I know. The U.S. EPA announced a long-anticipated rollback of methane regulations for the oil and gas company, marking the latest in a long series of attacks on federal climate policy by the Trump administration.
Well, methane's significant. It's a greenhouse gas,
Yeah,
but it's 86 times more potent than
Than-
CO2.
than carbon dioxide.
However, it doesn't last as long.
Well, that's the thing. When you hear about methane, you hear it's 86 times as powerful, it's 25 times as powerful.
Yeah.
It depends upon the timeline.
Yeah.
So methane is far more powerful in the first decade, but methane is broken down in the atmosphere. It oxidizes fairly easily. And
Well, here's what Trump's up to. Obama-era rules require companies to monitor points where methane can leak.
Right.
Duh. The change in rules would result in the release of an additional 5 million tons of pollution each year.
do we need 5 million tons of
I
methane?
don't think so.
I don't think so.
Reducing methane emissions makes economic sense because methane itself is a valuable commodity.
Well, it makes
It's
sense if they can
controlled.
capture it.
Huh?
It makes sense
if
but if they can capture it and make money, they're probably already doing it.
If what?
If they can capture it and make money, they're probably already doing it.
I would figure.
Yeah. So I don't think that's a valid point, but I do think that the overall thing of capturing methane, well, okay, we're at a point now where I think we have to start talking seriously about shutting that entire industry down.
When I first flew into Saudi Arabia, and I flew in at night, and you could see down on the ground, flares all over the place.
Yeah, I believe it.
A couple years later, I had a chance to fly back into Saudi Arabia at night. Most of those flares were gone.
I believe that too. They were capturing the
They were
methane.
capturing the
Yeah.
methane.
They could sell it, so they caught it.
So they caught it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, there's a takeaway on this.
Okay.
Several oil and gas giants oppose loosening these restrictions.
That's also interesting.
It is interesting. You would think that it would go against their interests, but apparently not. Obviously, they don't do.
They don't want to be. I'm just guessing here. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think they want competition to be moving in that doesn't have to obey the same rules that they have been obeying in the past.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
you know, it gives an advantage to organizations that are the new boys on the block. Okay,
Well, let's look at a tarot card here.
a tarot card. Yes, let's look at a tarot card.
See if we can pull that one out.
There it is.
That is the Fool.
The Fool, and you'll notice that the Fool
He's about to step off.
he's about to walk off a cliff.
He looks
Okay.
happy though.
He's very happy. He's very happy. This particular item is from Clean Technica.
The End of Oil and Gas, A Different View. And the guy that wrote this is George Harvey.
It's me. And as a matter of fact, Tom, I also wrote another article that we will talk about today, which
Okay.
is, you might not have got it
I don't
because
think I got it.
it was the one that was, it's the one called Fossil Fuels Are So Screwed.
Ah, yes, I know that.
Actually,
we'll talk about it.
That was
So,
another half of this particular article. So you have read the title. This is from Clean Technica. I wrote it. Sorry about that. And I have, this is the blurb. I have come to believe that the end of oil and gas could look very different than many people expect, even appearing to defy the accepted law of supply and demand. If I'm right, the loss of demand in the face of continued availability of resources will drive retail prices up instead of down.
well, it doesn't seem to make sense, but you talked about why that is, and it does make sense.
When you see the reasons that I wrote in this article, which basically say they've got fixed costs, and they've got to cover those fixed costs out of the price of the stuff they're selling.
Absolutely.
And that's for the local gas station, the local distributor, the local, all up and down, all the way to the wellhead.
Yep.
And so, and I've mentioned this before, but here I actually wrote it into an article that people can access so they can see the full
I
thing.
got what you just said in 2 sentences. So
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Real quick. With a reduced flow of fossil fuels, the fixed costs will have to be covered by increases in the charge per unit of the product. With reduced demand, efficiencies of scale are lost, and so the retail price has to be increased.
Which means you drive to this, you drive your gas guzzler SUV to a gas station, you discover it's closed. You drive to the next one, it's closed too. You drive to the next one, and all of a sudden you're hitting gasoline that's marked at $7 a gallon, and you know that these guys out in the gas fields are starving, and you say, somebody's ripping us off. Okay, I think we've beaten that fool.
We have. Well, we got another one coming up.
Okay.
A picture of a couple of automobiles.
We have a picture of a couple of automobiles, and we're up to Saturday, the 15th of August.
There's the picture.
There's the picture.
VW ID3 cars. That's what we're looking at.
What they are. And
VW ID3. They're electric, aren't they?
They are electric. And this
They look very ordinary to me.
They look pretty ordinary. This particular article came from Clean Technica.
Yeah. Oh, I do have that. Tesla had 28% of the world's fully electric vehicle sales in the first half of 2020.
Just imagine
fully
that.
electric eliminates hybrids.
Yes, that's right. But just imagine that. They had a 28% market share worldwide.
Just one company.
Just one
small
company.
Companies move.
Yeah. Of
It's
course,
going to be small forever.
BYD is a bigger company, I believe.
I think it is.
And it manufactures electric cars and batteries, but the difference is that BYD has not in the past restricted itself to cars, and what it has brought to market has been buses and trucks, mining equipment, you name it. They have big vehicles that they're bringing to market.
Is BYD planning on opening up in California?
BYD has a plant in
They're
California.
already there. They
Yeah.
make trucks, buses.
They're making, I think, trucks and buses.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me read this. Among the fully electric vehicles, Tesla has a 28% market share, while VW and Renault, Nissan, Alliance each had 10%. BYD and Hyundai Kia round out the top 5 at 7% each. The top 5 accounted for 62% of EV sales in the first half of 2020. And again, I'll point out that BYD had 7%, but that was just the cars. BYD is the biggest manufacturer of electric buses worldwide. And
Build your dreams.
yeah, build your dreams.
That's what it means.
That's what it means. It is in China. It is in Shenzhen.
They're a big company.
They are a big company, and I think they're probably, in terms of the volume of sales, they're probably a multiple of the size of Tesla. I would guess 2 or 3 times.
I wouldn't bet against that.
But in terms of market value, they're worth nowhere near what Tesla is.
Oh, is
Tesla,
that so?
yeah. Well, this is the way the stock market works. You want to invest in something based on sales in dollars, you invest in BYD. But in the investors are going with Tesla, which is, Tesla's sexy. Tesla is everybody knows Tesla. Everybody in the United States.
Yeah.
Who knows BYD? Anyway, should we go on?
There's an interesting graph in his article.
Yeah.
I like graphs. The top-selling automotive groups in the 100% battery electric vehicle market. And what it says about it is combined these top 5 automotive groups or alliances accounted for 62% of full electric vehicle sales.
Yeah.
Okay, going forward, Tesla is rapidly ramping up production capacity. Volkswagen Group is selling the Volkswagen ID3 and ID4, which we just saw, copies of those things with different markings. So they're selling it also as an Audi.
Yes.
You're selling the same car.
Yeah.
BYD has 4 brands. No, they got an EV. Ford, I can't read my own notes. Ford Mustang has one.
That's because of your handwriting,
An
Tom.
E Honda. And a Toyota RAV4. So there's a lot of electric cars coming on the market.
Yeah, there are. Okay.
Well, this is an interesting one.
This is from CNN.
Last decade was the Earth's hottest on record, exposing the grim reality of climate change.
The State of the Climate in 2019, a report published by the American Meteorological Society, says 2019 was among the warmest years on record. This decade is the hottest since records began in the 1800s, and the warmest 6 years on record were all in the last 6 years.
There's an interesting 3-minute video on this site about coronavirus versus the climate crisis.
Yeah.
It's worth looking at.
Yeah.
Now, this particular report exposes the grim reality, their words, of our warming world. Each decade since 1980 has been successfully warmer than the preceding decade.
Yeah.
While greenhouse gases are at their highest recorded levels.
Right.
We're going to stop this.
Yes. And actually, Tom, I want to say, I believe we will.
I don't think we have any choice.
Well, we don't have a choice, but I believe that we will. I think things are going to change in ways that a lot of people don't anticipate. I think we will do it. We have to try to do it. It's not going to happen by accident. So we're up to Sunday, August 16th.
Interesting picture coming up.
And we have a picture here that we have seen before.
We've seen it before, and it's kind of interesting because it isn't really what it looks like. This is a dog sled.
Yeah, and
this is the dogs pulling the dog sled on what used to be ice.
Yeah, but it's not ice anymore. These dogs are not walking on water. They're
walking on ice.
They're walking on ice, but they're walking in water, which happens to be on ice.
That's a good way to say it.
Okay.
Well, Greenland's ice sheet has melted to a point of no return. That's not good news.
This is from CNN. Greenland's ice sheet has melted to a point of no return, and efforts to stop global warming will not stop it from disintegrating, according to a study by researchers from Ohio State University. Over 280 billion metric tons of ice from Greenland melt from Greenland each year. Now,
there's a 1-minute video in that's worth looking at. And interesting photo of ice forming on lake free floating. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Lake free floating ice.
Yeah.
Now they talk about these shallow pools, so-called milk ponds, lower the ice's albedo, which is what it reflects back into space.
Right.
So that's a measure of how much sunlight is absorbed by the ice.
Yes.
Okay? And Greenland's ice sheet is the greatest single contributor to global sea level rise. And it's going.
But on top of that, if Greenland is going to go, so are large areas of Antarctica. And we're going to wind up having, I don't see how our coastal cities can survive.
That's just what I was about to say. 40% of the U.S. population resides in coastal areas that are vulnerable to sea level rise.
Right.
And if you look at the city of Miami, they're trying to deal with that right now.
They are. And
twice a week, they get fair weather flooding.
Right.
The sea runs backwards through the
and
sewer.
They're spending $500 million just in Miami trying to deal with that by
and is it going to work?
Raising the roads. And they know that 30 years from now, it won't be enough.
Yeah.
So they might, at some point, I just don't see how Miami can survive.
I think that whole barrier set of islands in Florida is all in deep.
Well, there are people who are saying Florida is going to become basically underwater, the whole state.
Oh, well, the bottom half of it, anyhow.
Yeah. And, well, you know what a mountain is in Florida.
About 6 feet.
It's a rise in the road, you know.
Okay, we got a picture here.
We do, and this is a picture.
Ah, there it goes.
We're up to Sunday, August 16th, and we've got an item here.
Well, the article says it's farming on dry sand, and it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Actually, I would have put into that caption that it was farming on a desert, but that doesn't look like a desert to me with those trees in the background.
Well, I think it might have been before they started playing with it.
Yeah, I think
well,
it
there's trees there in the background, but they've all been planted.
They've all been planted, yeah. That's right. That's not a forest that got cleared, I don't think.
Well,
Okay.
this startup wants to turn Dubai's desert into farmland.
This is from CNN. At the beginning of March, a team from
I got Norwegina. So.
Norwegina is what I see.
A
Norwegian company,
Yeah, I think so.
Desert Control, traveled to Dubai and planted zucchini, pearl millet, and watermelon in a plot of desert. 5 months later, the arid land is filled with rows and
That's what you
rows
look at.
of green leaves punctuated by freshly grown fruits and vegetables. And this, I thought, was an utterly fascinating article.
There's
And
a lot of photos in it.
a lot of photos. And, you know, what they're doing here is, well, maybe you
I
have a
got that.
takeaway you want to read.
This is made possible by what they call liquid nanoclay.
Nanoclay.
And nanoclay is just water and clay designed to be sprayed on sandy soil.
Yeah.
Okay? It attaches to sand particles, boosting water retention and enriching the soil. It's a win-win situation.
It is. And it basically means that these plants can put down their roots with some kind of hope of hitting something other than dry sand.
Well, the mixture increases the fertility of nutrient-poor sandy soils
Right?
and can reduce water usage by more than half.
Right.
Every time you look at this is a plus.
Yeah. And this
Liquid nanoclay can turn arid land into arable land in just 7 hours.
right.
And that's quickly.
That's pretty quick.
Growing crops, and this is about the United Arab Emirates, so growing crops in the desert is a high priority for the UAE, which wants to increase food security. Currently, the country imports about 90% of its food.
Which is a good reason to want to increase
I
food
would think.
security. Okay. Our next item,
Yeah, we've got a picture here coming up.
we have a.
And there it is.
This was one of the stories that I thought was
This
really
is a
interesting.
very good, very interesting story.
It sure is. This is from Clean Technica.
Polymetallic nodule from the ocean floor is what you're looking at right there.
That is basically a lump of metal that was found in the condition that you see lying.
Takes several thousand years to generate something.
Well, what the article said was that it was producing these is one of the slowest geological processes known to man. It takes hundreds of millions of years.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, and it's basically just taking the metal out of the seawater and agglomerating it, if you will, into these. But there are places in the ocean where the bottom of the ocean is just littered with these lumps of fairly high. It's a very high percentage of the metals that are in there, and the metals are valuable.
We'll touch on that on the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is called the CEO of Deep Green Metals, that's the company, talks mining nickel and other REEs. I forgot what REEs are.
Yeah.
On the seafloor.
Okay, Deep Green is a deep sea mining company with a vision of zero carbon circular economy. Its goal is to source metals with the least environmental and societal impact. I had an opportunity, this is the author, to interview Deep Green CEO Gerard Barron.
Well, these abundant, remarkable rocks that you're looking at there in the deep seabed contain 4 essential metals. They're all water: nickel, manganese, cobalt, and copper. They sit unattached on the seabed floor. All you gotta do is pick them up,
That's right.
and Deep Green collects them. The nodules have no toxic levels of hazardous elements. So
Well,
picking them up and using them makes a lot of sense.
it sure does.
And these guys have figured out technology
Yeah,
that lets them do it.
and some of this is so deep that you couldn't go down there in a submarine. You'd need a special submarine, a bathysphere. But they can automate this.
Well, they got a big machine that does it.
That's right.
I looked at the article. There's a picture of this machine.
Yeah. I didn't include a picture of the machine because it was just a machine.
Well, without explaining what it is, you wouldn't ever know.
You
It
wouldn't.
looks like some kind of farm implement or something.
It's something. It's yeah. Okay, should we go on?
Yeah, let's
I
move
just
on.
found
There's
that
another picture coming up.
fascinating article. And here we have a ship in the Arctic, and this is from BBC Focus magazine. And Tom is out of focus because
There
he's
we
lost
go.
his
Come
mouse
on.
cursor.
I'm
Okay.
playing with multiple mice here.
Well,
using the wrong one. That's a ship in the Arctic. Duh.
Well, it could have been on Lake Michigan, if it was.
Could have been. There have been times when
Tom and I have been,
that.
one thing that I've brought up before the show a couple of times. I was doing some just idle research because research is fun. And I discovered that the United States Navy during the Second World War had 2 aircraft carriers that operated exclusively in the Great Lakes.
Yeah, you told me that.
They were not intended to defend the United States against Canada. They were intended to
They were for training, weren't they?
They were for training. They used them for training pilots. But the thing that I found utterly fascinating about these was that they were both converted from passenger ships that were powered by side paddles. So we had 2 side paddle aircraft carriers.
That almost doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, this particular article is from BBC Focus magazine, and I believe you read the title?
I'll read it again.
Okay, do that.
The Arctic could be free of sea ice by 2035, according to the latest climate model.
An international team of researchers headed up by the British Antarctic Survey estimated that the Arctic could be ice-free as soon as 2035. Their estimate was developed using a cutting-edge climate modeling system developed at the UK Met Office's Hadley Centre. That's not good news.
Well, during spring and early summer, shallow pools of water form on the surface of Arctic sea ice.
Right.
Okay, we touched base on that already.
Right.
These so-called melt bonds are important for the ice's albedo, meaning that more heat is absorbed by the sea ice, which causes it to melt further and in turn absorb more heat. Sounds like a vicious circle.
It is. It absolutely is.
The prospect of loss of sea ice by 2035, this is an important sentence, means we should be focusing all our minds on achieving a low-carbon world as soon as humanly feasible.
Right. Absolutely.
Now I got a couple of tricks here. I got to get into Monday, August 17th, which is in a different place on this computer.
Do an Alt-Tab.
Save changes to document. Well, I'll save them. Now I press alternate what?
Tab.
Well, there's tab, and here's alternate.
You want alternate first and then tab.
And
Got it?
I think I got it. Well,
Okay.
I have access to it.
As I was saying, Monday, August 17th.
Well, there it is. It came up.
And we have a picture from Pattern Energy of a facility that belongs to them, and an article from Renewables Now, which
Yes,
is
we do.
an Australian publication, but they're writing about the U.S. wind industry.
Well, let's get that picture up again.
Let's do that. You know, every time I look at these pictures with the sun setting or whatever, it makes my eyes hurt.
Did your mother ever teach you not to look at the sun?
Yeah. No, I put my hand up to avoid looking at that.
Some of these pictures are pretty. I mean,
They are indeed.
This one's nice, but some of them are really quite nice.
Yeah.
There's one of them that I know I've saved as a screensaver.
Have you really?
And it's got clouds in the background, you know, and it's windmills and clouds. And
Yeah.
it's really kind of a pretty picture. Well, this is the Pattern Energy Facility.
Yeah.
And it says U.S. wind industry enjoys a record second quarter with over 2.5 gigawatts of new installations.
This, I think, is absolutely
important one.
astonishing. The U.S. saw a record 2,546 megawatts of new wind farms commissioned in the second quarter of 2020, keeping the wind industry's activity resilient in the wake of COVID-19 crisis. In last year's second quarter, there was just 899 megawatts of new wind turbine activity brought online. So this thing is up like 150% in the face of this COVID-19 thing. So,
Well, something's wrong here.
why?
Well, I haven't mentioned that to anybody, but my computer at home broke.
Yes.
So I'm working with a borrowed computer from George.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to have my notes in here, and it doesn't.
Oh,
And
no.
I put my notes in the item.
Oh, no.
So for some reason we get the wrong.
Okay, should we just go ahead without your notes?
Well, we're going to have to.
Tom has a very good memory. Don't let him fool you.
Well, I got the name of the article and I got the blurb. What I don't have is my.
I understand that. Just read the name and we can
U.S.
talk
wind
about it.
industry enjoys.
Oh, we've already read this.
So now you go.
Okay, the thing that I read the blurb. The thing that struck me about this particular thing is we have increased. The United States has seen an increase. I didn't help do it. I just sat by the sidelines. We've seen an increase of 150% over last year. We're at 250% of the installs in the second quarter. And despite the COVID-19 pandemic, which means that these people are going out and they're working on the job. And when you think about wind power jobs, installing wind turbines, These guys don't act in packed groups of people who are assembling things on an assembly line. They get up into the upper reaches of the atmosphere and operate cranes and drive trucks and things like that, where a lot of them are doing it alone. Yeah.
Most of the projects had their turbine components in place and were well under construction by the time pandemic lockdowns were introduced.
Yeah, but the lockdowns didn't lock everything down, as I said, because these people were, a lot of them were continuing working with face masks and social distancing.
Yeah, well, I was in town yesterday. I stopped in a couple of stores, and it's amazing how they've changed.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, things
trying to
have
get some
changed.
pizzas to bring home.
Well,
One store, one wouldn't even let me in.
yeah, a lot of
They want
places.
you to phone it in.
The
They
hotel
don't have a-
pharmacy,
Huh?
the hotel pharmacy, you cannot go inside. On the other hand,
Yeah.
on the other hand, the Works on Main Street, where the bagel place,
Yeah,
that's open. You can go in, you can eat inside,
okay,
but they need to know who you are and how to contact you.
okay.
All right, and you have to wear a
You
fat.
gotta sign in.
And you've got these weird things about trying
Wear a
to.
face mask except you take it off when you're chewing.
That's basically it. Yes. Okay, we should get going. And,
Okay, so
and
we
continue.
we finished that article, so we're going to the next one, which is this liquid air facility.
A liquid air facility.
Pull that picture up. So
And we have a picture. Oh, I already had it up. Liquid air. There it is. And this is liquid air facility. It's from Highview Power. I've actually been writing for Green Energy Times about Highview Power.
Oh, this is the one you wrote.
No, I didn't write this. This is from the Maritime Executive.
Well, it says using liquid air for energy storage and for maritime propulsion, and it's an interesting concept. We're just starting to find out ways of storing, and liquid air is basically a new old technology.
It's a new old technology, but it's a very, very interesting technology that. What
happened?
Oh, it's the connection.
Your connection or mine?
No, it's a connection from the somewhere in the connection. Wait a minute.
Well, it happens when I move the.
No, it's not the mouse.
That's just a
It's
coincidence.
this thing. It's just a coincidence, as you said. Okay, let's just hope that stays there. Okay, this is a. Well, you read the
I
title.
read the title.
Okay, in the area of renewable energy vessel propulsion, the scale of maritime vessel technology allows for application of grid-scale energy storage technologies that would be impractical for land vehicles. Initiatives are underway to provide maritime vessels with liquid air. Now, we talked a couple of weeks ago about a liquid air plant that was going to operate as a battery in northern Vermont.
Yeah.
And that was the same company, Highview Power. They have put together these plants in the UK.
They're doing these things all around.
They're doing them all around. And basically what they're doing is they're compressing air and cooling it so that it liquefies, which means it's very, very cold. This is like having a steam engine where you don't have to put any heat into the boiler because just ambient heat is going to make it boil. So they can use this stuff to make everything run, and that is it's too big to put into a car, or according to this article, even into a train, but it will work on a ship at sea.
Well, I got a quick takeaway here. I got
Yeah.
some notes. Grid-scale energy storage, such as compressed air, and grid-scale battery technology, such as vanadium oxide and liquid metal, can deliver over 20,000 deep discharge cycles.
Yes,
That's a lot.
it's a lot.
Liquid air technology is capable of delivering tens of thousands of repeated deep discharge cycles
Right,
over a period of many years,
many years.
affording 2 million miles of service.
Right.
The sheer scale of some technologies allows for installations way beyond road and railway propulsion, which
Exactly.
is the ships that you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay, we should go on,
I
Tom.
think we should. We got another picture here.
We have a picture
This
of
is Essex. Is that Essex, Vermont?
PSEG Essex Solar.
Oh,
This
wait
is
a
in.
second.
That's in Vermont.
Oh, look at the picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Essex. I don't know where the Essex is.
Well, it's
Is it Essex, Vermont?
it is the Essex Solar Center. I'm not sure exactly where that is, but it's Essex. Okay.
Well, what confused me, it's PSEG Essex, and that's Public Service Electric and Gas, and that's a New Jersey firm.
Well,
But they're operating in Massachusetts right now. I
and
know
they're
that for a
they're
fact.
doing this solar thing in Vermont, and this is from
So that probably is
vtdigger.org.
Essex, Vermont.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
you know it is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a question I asked.
I'm sorry, I wasn't very clear, was I? Anyway, what do you have for a title?
Vermont clean energy jobs have plateaued,
Right.
dropping in the pandemic.
Vermont has lost 408 solar jobs since 2017, including 20 in 2019, the Vermont Clean Energy Industry Report found. Despite growth nationally in the solar sector over the last 2 years, but the report does not account for jobs lost during the coronavirus pandemic.
Well, they were just solar jobs,
Yep.
but it estimates that Vermont lost 2,600 clean energy jobs in
Yes.
April alone.
Clean energy jobs includes a lot of things that you don't think about as energy jobs, but they're things like installing insulation in houses.
Okay.
That's a clean energy job. Okay, we are up to Tuesday, August 18th. And
Already?
August 18th it was the day of my 3,000th blog entry.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
You're the first person to congratulate me
Well,
on
there's a
that.
picture goes along with it.
Oh, there's a picture that goes along. Yes, the good old days. Let me put that up. That is the Lakeview #1 gusher, which lost over 9 million barrels of oil,
Look
half
at
of
what
which.
I always wondered about that. What happened to all that oil? They just left it there.
Yeah, it sank
It
into the
sunk
ground. It,
sunk
it
into the ground.
evaporated into the air. It killed birds. It killed fish. It destroyed agricultural crops. You know,
Well,
you
that's-
name it.
That's an old picture.
That's an old
Clearly
picture,
an old
and the
picture.
lake that thing is sitting in is a lake
That's
of
that's
oil. So, what do you got for a title?
Fossil fuels are so. There it goes again.
There it goes again. Go ahead.
So screwed.
Why don't you switch to us? There you go. Just leave it there, and the image behind us.
Yeah, why
That's
is that going?
it's going on because of this cable,
Oh,
and I don't. There it is. See, all I got to do is yank on the cable, and everything's fixed. Okay. You read the title. Fossil fuels industries are suffering from increasingly effective competition. Even natural gas electricity is too expensive to be competitive. Both climate and change and ethics argue against them. If you have science, the market, and religion all against you, a purchased government is just one more stranded
read
asset.
that sentence again. That's an important sentence.
When you have science, the market, and religion all against you, you have a purchased government. I'm sorry. All against you, a purchased government is just one more stranded asset.
It is that.
So this
Okay,
is the
good
second
takeaway.
of the 2 articles that I wrote for Clean Technica.
Okay.
And it basically, the first article that I put in, I painted the end of oil and gas as being, we decline to a point and then it steps off a cliff. The fool, the
Yep.
card. Well, people asked, how long is it going to take to get there and what's going to happen between now and then? And basically, what I said was, regardless of
what we do.
regardless of what we do, regardless of who we elect, the oil and gas industry are going down. And the reason why they're going down is because they're more expensive than the competition.
As I've said before, it's the economics, stupid.
Right. And so I'm figuring that within the next 5 years, oil and gas are going to get to a point where even a person who's not paying attention is going to know that they're in desperate trouble. And when that happens, within another 5 years, that end will happen.
When
So I'm
electricity is
saying,
up to, when fuel oil or when gas is up to $7 a gallon.
yeah. I'm saying that I think that within 10 years, we've got all these people saying we've got to get off fossil fuels. We don't have that much time. We can't do, 50% down in 10 years and the rest over the following 20. I think it's going to be close to 100% in 10 years.
Wow.
So, and the reason is because it'll be going down, going down, going down, and then all of a sudden it'll go off the
Go off
edge.
the cliff.
And people are not going to be interested in driving gas guzzling SUVs when they're that expensive to drive.
Electric cars are getting better and cheaper.
They are. We just saw 5 models,
Yeah.
2 of which are available in the United States that are cheaper than gas cars.
Yeah.
So there you go. We should get on,
Well,
Tom.
we got a picture coming up again.
I don't know how much time we've got because we've had a couple of delays.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's get that picture.
This is a picture which was
Death Valley.
accompanying an article about Death Valley. And that doesn't look like a valley to me, but what do I know?
I guess Death Valley's a pretty big place.
It is. And I think that is probably the edge of it.
Well, the article says the highest temperature on Earth as Death Valley hits 130 degrees. Wow.
Yeah. What could be the highest temperature ever reliably recorded on Earth, 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 54.4 degrees Celsius, may have been reached in Death Valley National Park, California. It comes amid a heat wave on the U.S. West Coast where temperatures are forecast to rise further this week. Now, this heat wave, by the way, kicked off a big power outage in California with temperatures outdoors above 100 degrees. This is very uncomfortable.
Not a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea.
Well, the particular heat wave they're talking about stretches from Arizona up the coast to Washington State.
Yeah.
So it covered the whole West Coast.
Yeah.
The conditions have led to 2 days of blackouts in California after a power plant malfunctioned on Saturday. And this article doesn't say, but there's been fires.
There's been fires. One thing that I'll mention here, by the way, is there were 4 things that happened, and 3 of them were matters, I believe, of miscalculation or human error. First of all, a 700 megawatt thermal plant, and in California,
That's what they talked about here.
this is a different one.
A different one?
A 700 megawatt thermal plant was taken down right before the heat wave. They should have. I would think that they saw this heat wave coming and took it down anyway. But
They took it down.
They took it down for maintenance.
Oh boy.
And I think it should have been left online if it was possible. I don't know that it was possible, and I don't know that they had the predictions of the heat wave already, but it was taken down. So 700 megawatts was offline already. The second thing is, and I think that was a human error. Second is wind power just doesn't produce the way that it normally does when it's hot because the wind doesn't blow as hard.
That much heat.
The third thing is a 470 megawatt, this is the one you're talking about, I think, thermal plant, also gas or coal, like that first plant, suddenly went offline unexpectedly.
Unexpectedly.
And there was one other thing, I don't remember what it was, that happened that caused I know. California has a bunch of plants that have been mothballed so that they could be used in an emergency, and nobody got them prepared.
So they can't turn them on.
Well, they can turn them on. They have turned them on, but
You don't turn it on.
You don't turn it on in 30 seconds. This is a matter of somebody
About
going
3
in.
4 days.
Yeah, sometimes it takes days. So the governor of California was livid.
It sounds like they're making some mistakes.
They made some mistakes, but the people who are against clean energy are blaming the whole thing on wind and gas.
Why not? Of course, everybody
Yeah.
knows that. Everybody knows that coal is king.
Right. Okay.
Well, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say heat waves have killed more people on average than any other extreme weather event in the country.
Yes.
So these heat waves are nothing to sneer at.
Yes, that's right.
They can be very serious.
Our next item is from
Look
abccolumbia.com.
at a nice picture here.
Do we? We have a picture of a beach and people social distancing during a heat wave on a beach.
That's called a hot day.
That's called a hot day.
And we're on the same
Which
subject,
same thing
really.
still, yeah.
California powered grid operator cancels rolling blackouts.
All right. In California, widespread blackouts to reduce pressure on the grid, like those that happened over the weekend, have been averted. Please, for people to leave their air conditioners at higher temperatures and avoid using washing machines and other major appliances seem to have worked.
Not
So-
on wood.
Basically, what happened was in the course of this multi-day blackout, the utilities and so forth started telling people, please don't use electricity unless you
Yep.
absolutely have to.
And for some reason or another, listen to them.
They listened. Well, you get to a point where the temperature in your house is 105 degrees, and somebody says, I can turn on the electricity and it'll stay on if you set your air conditioner at 80. And you say, 80? That sounds
right.
good to me. Okay, we should continue on our merry
There's a
way.
little takeaway from
Oh,
here.
okay.
A guy, energy professor at the University of California, this is a quote, this kind of a stress test on the system. We have not built a smart enough system to take advantage of all the renewables we have already in place.
Right. Okay, we are up to Wednesday, August
Last day of the week.
19th, and we have a picture of a Solaris bus in Hamburg. And this is from Clean Technica.
I don't have that picture.
You don't have the picture?
I don't, but that doesn't mean.
Oh, it's there.
Oh,
Yeah, all you got to do is put it up.
There.
There you go, Tom.
It's not here, it's there.
Okay.
Well, Hamburg, that's Germany, will get 530 electric buses in 21 to 25. There's many pictures in this article. It's
Yes.
an interesting article.
Nice article. The city of Hamburg is one of the first in Europe or the Americas to follow the lead of the Chinese cities and switch over to 100%, buying 100% electric buses rather than gas, diesel, and natural gas buses. In the coming 5 years, it plans to get 530 new buses, all of which will be 100% electric. Shenzhen. How many people can put their finger on a map and say, that's where Shenzhen is? China has 16,500 electric buses. Hamburg is bragging because it's got 500. It's getting 530, and the 530.
You're right. I can't argue with it.
530 buses in Hamburg is almost as many buses as we have in the entire United States.
Yes, that's true. That's
So
true.
why are we so far behind China? Well, it's because we've got a trade war with China, and trade wars are easy. You just lie down, roll over, and you're done.
Well, this is an interesting article. Electric cars can save billions and prevent thousands of premature deaths.
Yes,
We've
and
talked about this in various ways before.
yep, we have a
There's another
picture there.
Picture coming up. I don't have pictures, so
Yep.
I mean I got them here, but I don't have them
Yeah.
on
The picture is a picture of no idling. Let's see. A study published by researchers at Northwestern University found that if EVs replaced 25% of the combustion engine cars currently on the U.S. roads, that's just 25%, the country would save about $17 billion a year by avoiding damages from climate change and air pollution.
Well, this thing I think comes from the article. If EVs replace 25% of the combustion engine cars currently on the road in the U.S., the country would save about $17 billion annually.
That's what I just read,
That's
Tom.
what you just read.
That's
I
okay.
was reading the wrong place.
That's okay.
Well, did you read this last sentence? The message is clear. Doing nothing costs more than doing something.
Yes, I
Okay,
did not
sorry
read
about
that
that.
sentence. Thank you very. I said I did not read that sentence. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, there's
Okay.
a quick takeaway here.
Go ahead.
EV adoption not only reduces greenhouse gases, but it saves lives.
Yes, indeed.
Combustion engines produce other harmful pollutants, such as particulate matter and the precursors to ozone.
Yes, and it
So
also.
there's a lot of stuff coming out of
Yeah.
combustion engines.
Okay, we have one last article, which has it's from CNN, and it is a picture of a wrecked oil tanker
Yeah, I don't have this picture.
in Mauritius.
Oh, what happened? There it is.
There it is. It's in Mauritius.
Wrecked oil tanker in Mauritius. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, that just happened. That's in the news. That's in the current news.
Yeah,
That's,
this is, well,
Mauritius is a beautiful place.
I've never been there.
I haven't been there either, but I worked with a guy who was from there.
Yeah,
Well, he has an expat there,
yeah.
and he was showing me pictures of it.
Oh, really?
Seychelles and Mauritius, they're swimming near each other, and they're both fabulous countries.
What do you got for a title, Tom?
It's a bizarre time for Trump to open Alaska's Arctic refuge up to oil drilling. Duh!
The world has an excess of oil. Crude prices are weak. Oil companies are starving for cash. Climate change fears are palpable. It's a bizarre time for the Trump administration to move forward with controversial plans to open Alaska's pristine Arctic National Wildlife Refuge for drilling. Yes,
Yes.
it is a bizarre time. It's like, let's save the coal industry.
Well, that's what's trying to happen, but it isn't going to happen.
Wait, listen, Tom.
It's the economics,
The
stupid.
best slide rules in the world were made by Koeffel and Esser.
Yeah,
Some of the best typewriters came from Remington Rand.
they were good slide rules.
They were, yeah, and we had great mechanical adding machines. Why don't we just bring that stuff back and ditch these computers?
Well, the world simply does not need more oil right now.
Yeah,
Okay, that's in the article. At current and foreseeable oil prices, the industry's appetite to drill in the ANWR, the Wildlife Refuge, will be exceptionally low. Quite possibly will be zero.
yeah,
The refuge could be a very expensive zone to start in. It has a very little existing infrastructure.
there's
They
no,
like to keep it that way.
yeah, they don't have any pipelines running through there. They have the Alaskan pipeline, which is near there, but
I've seen some pictures of it. It's very pretty country.
yeah. Okay, we
I think
have
finished the article.
we have finished.
the show.
We have a final slide that says have a wonderfully worthwhile week.
That's what it says.
That's
isn't it?
why don't you put us up and we'll wave goodbye?
I think that's it.
Okay,
Goodbye, folks.
bye all. Come back next time.